Yes. Hi everyone. Welcome to the Kalwas channel. I'm your host, Dr. Haider Shah. Today we will be having very interesting roundtable discussion on issues and challenges in research. And today we have very renowned speakers with us, and most of you might have known him. All of them are very well expert in the field. So, without any wasting further time, let me just introduce our guests. So, our first guest is Dr. Muhammad Anis Khan. He is a well known personality in academia research field, and this is the third time we have invited him. And he has been generous enough that he accepted our invitation and he took out the time out of his schedule busyness. Let me introduce him formally. Dr. Anis is currently working as a senior assistant professor of finance and accounting in management sciences department, Bahria Business School. He earned his PhD from University of Technology Petronas, Malaysia, which is UTP. He worked in Cust, Islamabad, Higher Multinational Lahore, and Brains University on different positions. He has over 10 years of experience in the industry, academia, and research. Dr. Anis has published his work in multiple reputed journals, including Impact Factor journals, ISI, and in HEC recognized journals. He has participated in multiple conferences as a session chair. He conducts training and workshops on latest techniques, including EVO, STATA, and many more in various countries. In addition to that, he is currently working on international research projects in collaboration. He is the author, trainer, researcher, and teacher. Welcome to the Kalwas platform, and thank you very much for sparing your precious time, Dr. Anis.
Thank you so
Okay,
much.
so
Thank you so much.
our second guest is Dr. Shahab Aziz. He is working as a senior assistant professor at Bahria Business School. He has obtained his PhD from Malaysia, from a very top university, University Technology Malaysia. He has over than 11 years experience in academia as well as in industry. He has published several articles in Impact Factor Journal, ISI, Scopus Index, as well as in the HEC recognized journals. In addition to this, he is well equipped with the qualitative and quantitative research methods, particularly the data analysis techniques using smart PLS. He has also participated at several international conferences. His research interest is Islamic banking and finance, and this is the second time we have invited him because we were receiving a lot of requests to arrange another session with him, and he was kind enough that he gave the time and he spared this precious time for us. Welcome to the Kalwas platform, and thank you very much for joining us, Dr. Shahab. And today
Thank
we
you.
have the
Thank
third,
you.
yeah, today we have the third guest, that is Dr. Syed Bilawal Shah. He is a project leader, researcher, trainer, and provide consultancy in the area of geology and geophysics. He is also the co-founder of Kalwas, that is Center for Academic Learning, Writing, and Support Services, and looking into the Kalwas each and every activities. He holds a PhD in petroleum geology from University of Malaya, Malaysia. Moreover, he is currently a member of Geological Society of Malaysia. He is also a reviewer of various impact factor journals, and he has published multiple research publications in high impact factor journals. He also attended a variety of international conferences as a session chair. He is still a team member of various projects in University of Malaya. He also worked across various petroleum industries and has experience in the field of teaching, training, and research. And he is engaged in many academic activities and professional trainings in both at national and international level. And he has been conducting trainings and workshops through different platforms on multiple topics, from how to select a research topic to how to analyze the data. So, welcome to this session. And along with that, thank you very much, Dr. Bilal, for providing this wonderful platform through which we are able to interact with the renowned speaker around the world. Thank you for joining us. Okay, so
Thank
viewers,
you, Dr. Heather.
yeah, thank you very much. So, viewers, as all of you know, that today we will be discussing different issues and challenges which the young researchers, the beginner, they face while conducting a research, whether it is on master level, whether it is on PhD level, or whether they are conducting the applied research. So allow me the respected guest speakers to start the session properly and ask the first question.
Please go ahead, please.
Well, thank you very
Yes,
much.
please.
So, my first question from Dr. Anis Khan. The question is how to gauge yourself, or what quality one should possess to become a researcher.
Okay. Thank you so much, first of all, for a brief introduction.
Thank you.
It's a very nice question. The first thing, in my opinion, and what my supervisor asked me to write a motivation letter, like a 2 or 3 page, why you're doing this research. The motivation is very much important. But truly speaking, as we have to tell the truth to the society, truth to the students as well, that there are different type of regions in the world, different type of students in the world. Okay, so according to the region, according to the student mentality, they take different type of decisions. Like some student are, you can say, they want to continue their MS or PhD in order to improve their qualification for only and only the purpose is to get a job, which will be a revenue generation plan in future for him, and that can be for a developing country students mentality as well. This is also a motivation, and this is a big motivation because according to someone, PhD is the only shortcut to success. So this is one motivation that many students take with them, that why not I should go for PhD. And then he took a motivation and do this PhD and something like that. Second thing is the contribution. So once he step in into PhD, then obviously PhD is not a common thing. He have to contribute, and if he will not contribute, there will be no progress, because he cannot be measured by himself. His measurement are in the hands of the external examiners and supervisor, and the specific requirement that he have to fulfill. That's why the students shift his revenue generation mentality after getting the PhD towards getting, first of all, getting the degree. So motivation is very much important in my opinion. And another thing, like if you talk about the contribution, so social science is contributing like with a very minimum models to the society. So motivation is very much important, and without motivation, it's very difficult to step in into PhD.
Yes, wonderful answer. So, Dr. Nis, can we call that the motivation is the prerequisite to become a researcher?
Yeah, motivation for sure, because PhD is not a common thing, as I discussed.
Yes.
You have to make your psyche, your mentality, even you have to make your environment, that how
Yeah.
I will pursue this PhD. That's why motivation is very much, even in motivation, your immediate supervisor, immediate teachers, immediate even family members, like is very much important. And like if I will talk about the Pakistani environment, so when I started my PhD, so truly speaking, at that time, if a person had a PhD degree, universities hired them in 19 BPS 19, which was a very shortcut to get into university. That's why even this was also a very big motivation of the students as well. That why not to go for PhD and to get a degree and then get into the very respectable profession, that is a teaching profession. So this is a big motivation in Pakistan. And even I focus on my student that if you will get your master degree, so don't go for a very minimum wage. Try to get scholarship abroad, try to get your PG degree, and don't think that the market of Pakistani market is not producing, is not giving a lot of jobs. Then you have to target the Gulf, you have to target the Europe, even you have to target the Australians. Even many of my friends are doing job is Norway and Sweden and Denmark as well. So after motivation is at most important. But one thing is for sure, that if you are not motivated, you will never ever fill the form of PhD. You will never ever email to for request to get admission into the PhD. This is a motivation that will drive you towards the admission of PhD. That is something that I know, and that is something like before PhD what I was, and after PhD what I am. Like I have no issue to get my job after my PhD, but before PhD it was very difficult to get the job. So job is also very much important, but before job, motivation is also important.
Yes, Dr. Anis, very well said. But can we call this motivation as intrinsic and intrinsic motivation as well? Sometimes we need to console ourselves and we find ourselves in isolation and we have to keep motivating ourselves.
Yeah, it can be, but in social sciences, you need a role model. Like, for
Mhm.
example, if you have someone in your close circle, like, for example, if Dr. Shahab came with a PhD degree and you're doing job, for example, in any industry, then you ask him, say, how you find the journey, and he guide you positively, the most
Yes.
positively, that there is nothing in PhD. You have to follow a steps, a specific steps. There is a methodology, there is a mechanism. So after
Mhm.
4 or 5 years, you can get the degree. There is no one can stop degree from you. But some people, when they get degree, they make it like very horrible. It's like a Hulk. PhD is like a Hulk. Then in that situation, like, your motivation will obviously will be dumped and you cannot go. So intrinsic is very important, but the people who got the degree and who after the degree and they says that PhD is not a helicopter concept, as I always says to my student, that PhD is not a helicopter concept. It's a time demand. You have to
Yeah.
give it time. You have to sacrifice the time. You have to sacrifice the years, and then you have to follow the steps. And after specific steps, you will get the degree, no
Yes.
doubt. But a person who came with a PhD degree and says this is very tough, supervisor is unbelievable tough, and environment is unbelievable tough, and he always complained about that it's very difficult to get the data, it's very difficult to sit into the labs, it's very difficult to get into the softwares, it's very difficult to even to check this Turrentine, it's very difficult even to put your references on the Mendeley or EndNote. Then I don't think so. If a motivation, intrinsic motivation cannot do anything. Like, the motivation from your close circle, from your supervisor. And I would say, I'm very sorry if I'm wrong, that I would say that especially the people who got degree from Malaysia, uh, like, I would say, I'm sorry if this is my personal comment, and when they came to Pakistan, they always motivate their students to go abroad to get your PhD degree. There is no difficulty in PhD and something like that. But in 2011 and 12, like, I meet with some people when I just exposed my desire that I want to get PhD. He told me, wow, it's very difficult, and it's very difficult, it's a very like a nightmare. You will get the degree, it's like taking the degree from the mouth of the lion, and so on. Like, if you will meet with such a type of people who are with a negative mentality, then motivation, a bulk of motivation can do very positive thing too. So make a model, make a role model. Someone should be your role model. Either he is a good researcher or not, but he's a positive thinker. He give you positive thoughts. Then go for it. Uh, Rest is to Allah Subhanahu wa Taala.
Yeah.
Who will give you the power? Who will give you the motivation? And who will give you the degree as well? So
Yes.
this is the thing that is a lot of other experience with me that I have already shared with you guys. Always sit with positive PhD doctor, then there is nothing difficult in getting the motivation or getting the step into the PhD degree. This is something that I have noticed from the society.
Yeah, very wonderfully articulated. You are very right, Dr. Anis. And the point which I could noticed from your all this discussion is that we must have a role model so that we can follow his her footsteps. And this is in fact what we did. I can say for myself that yes, I was able to see my teachers who were doing their PhD, who were doing fantastic research. So I was very much impressed by them, and then that was my also source of motivation to become like them, to talk like them. And it was a wonderful example which you have given, that if you have a proper role model in front of you, then you can have this motivation as well. Very wonderful. Thank you, Dr. Nis. Now the second question is from Dr. Shahab Aziz, that one of the PhD student is asking this question. It is very common for all of us, that the role of stress management is very important during your PhD. So I'm developing a research proposal and I'm highly stressed. Give me some suggestion to manage stress. And all of us, you know, that during our proposal defense or developing the research proposal, we face a lot of difficulties, the research gap, research contribution. So the student is asking in that context that he is highly stressed. So give him some suggestions, please.
All right. Thank you for good question. Yeah, the
Yes.
PhD. Yes, you have to take the stress anyway. I mean, and you have to live with this stress, and you have to perform with this stress. I mean, this is not just at the start. Like if you are stuck in proposal, I think till you finish the PhD, you have to some sort of stress gonna creep in even now and then. So stress management something very important that. You but I think I should go get back to the first question, right? The
Okay.
motivation aspect.
Right.
So if you have a stress, then there's a question to your motivation as well. So your motivation, your stress should not take over your motivation, right? So your motivation should always be at the top, and
Yeah.
that's the way you can manage the stress. And secondly, I think look, PhD is not for everyone.
Mm.
Not everyone should dream that he should do a PhD,
Yes.
because there are many other things to do. Maybe you are good at something else, right? So Allah has given different qualities to all individuals. So before we start PhD, I think we should try to look into ourselves. Intrinsic, the word you were saying, we need to see intrinsically that I, as an individual, uh, I am good at what are my strengths, what are my weakness, right? And then it comes to the extrinsic, right? If I'm convinced myself that I'm good at something, I'm good at in PhD we have to do extensive reading, right? So if I'm good at reading, love reading different stuff, then okay, this is one skill I'm bringing to my PhD. Stress, yes. I mean, how I perform during the stress. Do I am mentally strong enough that in past I have taken some stress, and I was good enough to handle that stress. So as an individual, you have to decide before you jump into PhD whether you are capable of doing that thing, or maybe you have some other qualities which you can utilize. A lot of PhDs employed to the graduates. Graduates are running companies, and PhDs are employed over there, right? So I mean, this is not an end to the world, right? So we should keep our scope broader before you jump into a PhD. Okay, now the someone who has asked the question is already jumped in, right? So we assume he he has
Yeah.
made his self-assessment. He has motivation to do that. That he will be do a PhD, right? But I have observed a lot of students, they jump into writing and something before understanding what is required. Like if you want to develop a proposal, first you need to understand what exactly the proposal is, why it is required, what is the scope of that proposal, right? And then we have a different section of a proposal, right? Maybe like in Malaysia, we are supposed to write full length 3 chapters. Chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3 for proposal. If you are aiming for a short proposal for admission or something, right? Even then you have to um, the stress is because you don't have that sort of skills at the moment. So try to develop the skills, right? The skills of reading, skimming through the article, how we extract different things from the article. So I think the technical part of the research is very important, right? I always ask the student, understand the technique of doing something before you start doing it. First learn how to do it, right? And then start doing it. Like for example, um, abstract, right? Now, abstract seems to be just a one page document, right? But there's a technique of writing an abstract, right? There are five components of writing an abstract. So, if someone knows that technique, that what should constitute a good abstract, right? Like first few lines, then second, third, what are the five parts of abstract? So, if you know that five parts, it's very easy to write. Otherwise, I don't know, we see a lot of people are writing different things abstract because they don't understand what are the component of an abstract. Similarly, like you have to write an introduction, problem statement, RQ, or like scope, significance, literature review, and the methodology. So I think if you are under stress, try look into these areas. Do you have these skills? Have you mastered these skills? Do you understand what is required from a research proposal? And the mentors are very important, right? The issue has been raised by Dr. Anis as well, that the best thing is to the best person are the one who has already reached their destination, right? Who have achieved that target, right? They are the best person who can guide you, who can help you, right? So try to find the mentors, right, who are having a positive attitude is very important, right? Who always motivate you, like you can do it, it's not difficult, it's just a matter of concentrating, yeah, right? Use the positive tone, positive words for these students, so they can motivate themselves. So stress management, yes, the first look back at your motivation, why you for the firstly started this research degree, right? Look back and try to motivate yourself. Secondly, look into your skills, right? Do you understand these things? If you don't understand, ask someone. Try to find. Third is find someone who has already done, is having a positive attitude, right? Who's willing to help you out, right? I think, and then your interests as well. What are your interests, right? Look into your interest areas, right? Sometimes people start doing research in areas where someone else has said do this, right? Don't jump into those areas. Try to find your own interest area, right? And then because that's the uh, perfect area where you can excel as well. If you don't have interest for any area, I mean, it will be very difficult to carry on this research for two, because it's a long journey. If it's a PhD, it's going to be 3 or 4 years, right? So find something which is of your interest. That's another point. And be strong and keep yourself, motivation comes from inside as well, right? Like we at times speak to ourselves. So because I think it's intrinsic from to start with. If I'm convinced myself, I have to motivate myself, I'm good, I have skills, I can do this, right? And then it comes the external motivation, the people who are around us, right? Because the internal motivation will push me to go somewhere, to find help from someone, right? To speak to someone, to find a mentor, right? And that's gonna help in adding further to your strength. I think these are the 3 4 points that I see or I can suggest.
Yeah. So wonderful, very wonderful suggestion for the student. I like your suggestion. It starts from motivation, and the second point is very valid, that learn the technique. Yeah, once you know the component and technique, how to do it properly, then it becomes very easy for you. When the things get easy for you, then you can have a more interest and inclination towards that thing. So wonderful, Dr. Shahab, very well explained. Okay, now the third question we have for Dr. Bilal, that why some PhD students, or why some students fail in doing PhD?
Well, it is a very good question, and it is also a secret question of a PhD holder, and it has a very broad answer too. First, you have to ask yourself whether you can do a PhD or not. Even before that, you have to ask yourself whether you can hold the stress and tension for a longer period of time or not. Because PhD is not very simple and it is not for everyone. The stress and tension from PhD will be 95% from the PhD and 5% from the rest of the world during your PhD tenure. Another thing is attention and focused mind is required. If your mind is not focused and you do not have attention to your research work, you will face failure. The first thing in PhD is more attention than one can think of it. You can call your research work as a baby, and you have to take care of its every single thing, right from its brought up, right from the write up of the thesis, right from the taking care of the thesis, right from the conducting the research, you're achieving the objectives of your research. You should be consistent, otherwise, every single gap will cause a delay in continuity and it will lead to failure. PhD is not something like master's or bachelor program that you would be worrying about grades. It is a whole new different world of study. You have to study too much about your area. If you are not fully aware of the study area in which you are conducting the research, it will cause failure because experts will have a lot of questions for you in all of the seminars, right from proposal defense until your final presentation. There are 6 laws of PhD failure, right from the first one, which is choosing wrong research area, when you cannot control it and you cannot go with it. So you have to choose your research area very carefully. The second law of failure is expecting your colleagues. What does it mean? It means if you are expecting from your colleagues, your seniors, or your friends to give you a well written dissertation, then forget about your PhD degree, because even if you get a PhD degree, you will not be called as a researcher because you cannot even yourself you can call yourself a researcher. The third thing is choosing a very broad topic with a lot of objectives. Stay focused on your area and select only those areas which have not been explored before. The fourth one is delaying or inconsistent in conducting your research. If you provide gaps to your thesis, it will not be of that quality which you were thinking of. So the fifth one is ignoring your examiner's committee level. This is another most important failure law of PhD researcher. For this, you have to gather every single information about the mindset of the committee, what type of questions they will ask, what are their mindsets, and how they conduct various seminars. The sixth law of PhD failure is getting involved with the faculty members. In our countries, this is the most common mistake which our students follow. They start to butter their uh, their supervisors. For example, if you keep your research on one side and you start going out with the faculty members, you start helping your faculty members just because they will give you favor in seminars. So stop buttering them and stay focused on your area. If your research is of good quality and your research is correct, no matter if you have buttered your supervisor or the committee members, they will pass you, and that is the guarantee of your research, because if you have done a good work, no one will stop you. Because there are other reasons for that, because when you do your research before seminars in our universities, they said first publish your research, then we will recognize your work. So if you have published from your research output, no one is able to stop you from anything. So these are the
Thank you
reasons
very
of
much.
yeah.
Yeah,
failure.
yeah. Please continue.
So
Yeah.
these were the six laws of PhD failure, which everyone should avoid and stay focused and have give attention to your research area only.
Okay. Very well explained, Dr. Bilal. The six laws, very interesting to know. You have put it in the laws form very nicely. And I hope the students will try to understand this thing and to become a real researcher. So, what I got from you are the six laws that one has to be a good researcher and one has to look for the work by themselves, not to seek the help or other things, unfair means from the rest of the people. They should be only focusing on their research work. Very well explained. Dr. Anis, we have one question for you. That's Honena Javed wants to ask that, sir, should one directly enroll into a PhD after completion of masters, or should step into some sort of job and have some exposure?
Well, if you can get direct admission, so this will be better, because according to the record, if you will complete your PhD before 30 years, so this will consider as a golden PhD. So this is a miles step for people who also
Right.
go before PhD. But the most important fact that if you are lucky to be another thing I will add, that as Dr. Shahab right cleared my concepts as well, that everyone is not made for PhD. So
Yes.
obviously, first, if in MS, if you are if you got a good supervisor, you got a good topic, you are satisfied from your MS degree, and you made your mentality that I can go for PhD. So then there is no need to go for any job. Strive to get admission into PhD, because you will be fresh. You have learned something in masters, so you can apply these things very easily in masters. But one thing that is this, I'm sorry that I don't know whether you will ask this question from me or not, but I want to give answer of this question, that uh, about the issues that is
Yes.
not of the research, that is of the students. I would
Yes.
say students are not serious.
Mm.
I had more than 25 students up till now in my masters, and out of 25, only 10 were very much serious. The rest was only working for their degree. And
Mm.
and for all, like we did the strata trainings, we did the views training, we did the even end note trainings. But when they came up with the thesis or with the proposal, they just forget the end note, they just forget the strata, and they were just came with a fresh mind, like they don't know anything.
Mm.
So students had some issues, no doubt, but the researcher, or you are talking about the issues and challenges of the researcher, is that yes, there is some issues, like issues of databases, like student, the first question of the students, from where we will get the data. So they don't know about the S&P global, they don't know about the data streams, they don't know about the Bloomberg, they don't know about the WDI, even they don't know about the SCCP. but
Yes.
but if you guide them in all these things in the first semester, so when they reach in the last semester, they just forget all these things. So
Mm.
what is my request to the student, that please, all these steps, either you study the steps of regression in the first semester, or you will apply this in your thesis. These are the same. There is nothing, like there is no difference. It either the regression in Pakistan or the regression in the US or regression in the UK, they are the same. Like the techniques are the same. But about the databases, we have the issues. About the labs, we have the issues. About the softwares, we have the issues. Like about the Tarantine, student don't have the access to the Tarantine. About the supervisor, like it's very
Mm.
difficult to get the supervisor time as well. Supervisor, about the environment, about the time, these are the issues. We will discuss it in detail. But coming to the point of Miss Hunaina, Uh, Very good question. This is my wish that, especially for females, because there is a niche market for the female. That if I talk about the Pakistan, like in KPK, the with every male university there is a female university nowadays. Like you talk about the Peshawar, there is a male university separate and female in Mardan, in Sawabi, no in Swat, and no in Diyai Khan. Similarly, who will fulfill these vacancies? Obviously, the females.
Mm.
The same concept is going to Punjab as well. With every male university, there will be a female university. So female will be preferred. That is why this is the one motivation for the female as well, that when you complete your master's degree, then just jump into the PhD, but jumping with a very much measurement that is already discussed by the Dr. Bilal and Dr. Bilal and Dr. Shahab, that you should go with a very set mentality. The rest, female have a very bright future and a very shortcut to success after getting the PhD degree.
Yeah.
So don't waste time in other small jobs, like if you will get 30,000, 25,000. If your family is not demanding from you, if your brother, sister, your parents, they don't ask to bring some money to home, if they are going to support you, if they feel proud that you should go for PhD, then you are a lucky person. Then don't indulge yourself into small jobs. Make a clear plan that you should go for your PhD. And where you will go, you have a lot of supervisor in if you are in Behria, you have a lot of role models over here from the different countries, from UK, Korea, Malaysia, France. You can sit with those doctors. You can discuss the future, that how I will go there. They will guide you very smoothly. And most important, uh, the short answer to your question, that I always discuss in the class, that PhD is the only shortcut to success with a high rate
Okay.
of respect.
Yeah,
Thank you.
wonderful. Very well explained, Dr. Anis. We have one another question, Dr. Shahab. How much supervisor support or guidance is important in completion of thesis of MPhil or PhD? This is what our MPhil student says. Zishan Heather is asking.
All right. First of all, there should be a clarity that the PhD study is uh, it's a study of that student, right? It's not a
Yes.
study that a supervisor is carrying on. So
Yeah.
that's the first. Supervisor is just there to help you, to guide you, right?
Yeah.
And
And this is what
this,
Dr. Bilawal explained, that it's your baby and you have to take care of it.
yeah, exactly.
Yes. Yes.
So make sure you own it, and you look after your PhD, your study, and expect uh, from supervisor what he's supposed to do, right? A supervisor is just there to help you and guide you, right? And don't expect too much from supervisor, right?
Yes.
Because at times, like supervisor is not expert of everything, right? For example, you're doing a study which maybe not in exact domain of that supervisor, right? So if it's ideally, maybe if it's ideal if you get exactly the supervisor who can who is a master of that subject. But if that is not the case, then you cannot push too much to supervisor. You have to stretch yourself, right? And um try to get the maximum out, and obviously you can go and discuss with supervisor that's there. But I think you as an individual should own it and put more efforts on your side, because at the end of the day it's your study. You have to defend it, not the supervisors, right? And you should be expert of that area, right? So
Yeah.
you should know better than anybody else in your area, right? If this is the situation, then obviously, I mean, it will be a win-win situation for you, and you can get through this PhD easily. But if you want to expect your work from supervisor, then at the end of the day you will be struggling to pass out, or GOT, what we call graduate on time, and so there will be a delays or some sort of, right. So
Yes.
the role of supervisor is important, but the scope of that work is just to guide the students to um, help in right sort of methodology and technique, right. The rest is up to the students, right. So um, but the supervisor should do his job and student should do his job, right. There's a clearly defined roles actually, right. When you mix these roles, then obviously they're going to be a mess at the end of the day. So uh,
Yeah.
that's how it is.
Yeah, perfectly said, Dr. Shahab. Okay, Dr. Shahab, I'm taking another question from you, and then I take the opinion of Dr. Anis on the same question as well. The question is posed by the Asim Aziz. What should we write in theoretical and conceptual framework? It means, what is the difference between theoretical framework and conceptual framework? Dr. Shahab, you first, please give the answer.
All right. As the word says, like theoretical framework, right? I means that something you do, you are deriving from the theory, right? So not every theory is. Some theories are abstract in nature, right? And then you have to bring in a lot of variables to on the basis of that theory. So a theoretical framework is derived from theory, and conceptual framework is when you convert those abstract theories into a workable framework, right. The framework is what actually you will be doing in your paper or thesis, right. So the theory gonna uh, give theoretical framework gonna give a backing to your conceptual framework. So the end product of your um paper or thesis is your conceptual framework or research model, right. But the theory gonna support your framework, the theoretical framework gonna back that conceptual framework. So they actually, there's a lot of debate about this. I've seen, like, I was listening a video of Prof. Ramaya. Even he was not interested to get into that debate because he was saying that this is too much, I mean, people talk a lot of things about this, so I call it a research model. I don't
Yes.
call it a theoretical framework or conceptual framework. I was listening to him, and even today there was a question posed by someone, and someone is very good in research. Faizan, from USA, but he had a question on his Facebook. What is the difference between theoretical and conceptual frameworks? So a lot of people are replying for this, but I think that theoretical framework, if uh, your framework is back from like theory, and conceptual framework basically is the end product, right. Because not
Yes.
every theory is you can apply the theories as it is, right. Theories are abstract at times. Theories don't have variables, right. So you have
True.
to under one abstract concept you can add a lot of variables, right. So
Yes.
that is what the conceptual frame, when you add a lot of variables which can you measure it, you can test these hypotheses, right. And then it becomes a conceptual framework, right. Theoretical concept at time, they you cannot test those, they are abstract in nature, right. You have to bring in variable on the basis of that theoretical linkages, and the conceptual framework is end product of those deliberations and the theoretical aspects. So that's how I see it, but it's very complicated. Even the renowned researcher, there's at times very difficult to draw a line between these two as well. So
So, fine, fine. Yes, Dr. Anis, what you have to say on that?
I absolutely second Dr. Shahab.
Okay.
Like he was discussing about the Faizan post today. I just saw that one year,
What is the
one
difference?
1 hour before. And you know what was the comment of Prof. Ramaya? Prof. Ramaya wrote that I will give you the answer until the cow comes home. Until the cow comes home means that cow will never ever come to home. So this is a very
Yes.
very difficult debate. However, this is my humble request to the student that whatsoever, if they got a bit knowledge about the theoretical framework, so that is very good. Like what we know about the conceptual framework is Dr. Shahab explained it very nicely that conceptual framework, like it's an oral directions. Like
Yes.
you can draw a conceptual framework, and you can give a directions to different people that we can do this and this and that and that and so on. But if you will come to the theoretical framework, obviously for a theoretical framework you need some lens theories and underpinning theories. And why you need this lens theories and underpinning theories? Obviously to connect the dependent and independent variables. So like the recent concepts about the theory is about the theory's multiple theoretical concepts. Like before like 1 decade before, people like to develop a model that was explained only on the basis of one theory, like all the relationships should be explained based on the one theory. But nowadays the new researcher says that in a one model you can get a theoretical multiple theoretical relationship of the different independent and dependent variables. Like the theoretical framework is a framework where the variable should be, or where the relationship of the variable should be based on the underpinning theory. And that theory is not assumed, that theory should be proved by the specific methodology as well. And if for example you assume a theory for any relationship between dependent and independent variable, and the results came against that relationship, then on the basis of the results you can say that your theoretical relationship is wrong. So theoretical relationship is very very much important. And the most important thing, that the simple difference between the conceptual and theoretical framework, that until and unless you will not develop the relationship between two variables on the basis of theory, you cannot say it a theoretical framework. However, you can call it a conceptual framework because it can give you a small directions, that is an overall direction, that can be a clue towards the research as well. However, I just remember my supervisor a definition that mm, without theory you cannot assume your thesis. So theory is very much important, and like
Yeah.
without theory you cannot. So theoretical and conceptual, how much I will explain it, either in million words or in million pages, the
Still, it
fact
is
will remain.
debatable.
We can explain it until the cow comes home. So
So
True.
wait for the cow, yeah.
wait for the cow.
And then we will be
So
able to tell you.
I would like to read
Yes.
one of the comments on that page is from Dr. Mustafa. He is one of
Yeah.
the
That is for
competent
one
researcher from Malaysia,
Taylor
right?
University. Yes.
So I'm gonna read word by word whatever he has written on this question, right? He says that theoretical framework comes from theory or theories to
Yes.
support our hypothesis, and conceptual framework. Okay. Theoretical framework comes from theories to support our hypothesis, and conceptual framework means to say that our conceptual framework should be backed by a theoretical framework,
Theoretical.
right?
Yeah.
Or
True.
also the way Dr.
Same, cow is
Anis was,
coming home.
yeah, Dr. Anis was, and conceptual framework is for our study, which should be
Yeah,
supported by a theoretical framework. I think even if you whoever is asked question, he'll be
it's
confused, I
like
think.
this. It's like confusing like this.
Yeah. Very much. Very good. Very well articulated. Let's the audience decide by themselves how they are going to interpret it. We have explained in our best way. Thank you very much for your detailed answer for that. Okay, there is one very interesting question again by Hunana Javed, and I'm asking all of the three speakers to have a view on that. That the uh, what is the difference in acquiring PhD from Pakistan or abroad? As I have seen that in hiring of personnel, foreign degree holders are preferred. So please share your experience. Okay, we start with the Dr. Bilawal. That if we do a PhD from abroad and if we do a PhD from Pakistan, is there any difference in hiring process? If yes, which one is preferred and why there is such discrimination?
Yes, in Pakistan, most of the time they prefer foreign degree holders, not only PhD, but also if the person is a master's or MPhil degree holder, because they gain the knowledge in real world, in real life. They in foreign country they are only focused on the studies itself. They cannot have a favor from their supervisors, from their teachers. If they are enrolled in a research program, they cannot have a favor from their supervisor, because supervisor will only tell you to work on this topic. Even the topic is decided by the student. If we take an example of myself, when I went to Malaysia for my master's by research, in my first meeting with my supervisor, I told her that this is the title of my master's thesis. I conduct research on this. So she told me only one thing: go and study. I said, what? I asked my younger brother, and I asked him that she told me go and study. She did not even tell me to study from library, study the books, study the research papers, or even Google the research topics, because in that foreign country, they want you to study by yourself. If you are enrolled in a research program, you will take care of everything from the right from the topic till the end, that is final presentation of yours. In Pakistan, what we do, we were discussing in a research group. Somebody just told me that he is having he is enrolled in a master's program, and that master's is by coursework. So he told me that there will be a small research at the end of his tenure. So I asked him, okay, what will you do? Yeah, he told me that I will get the dissertation from some of my colleagues, or even from the library. I will just rephrase it, and we will have the I will have the degree of master's or MPhil. So in Pakistan, we give preference to our favorite students. We give preference to the good students, but there is also discrimination in good students and in the favorite students. If the good student is very bright and talented one, we will not we, but the supervisor will not give preference to the talented one, but they will give preference to the favorite students. Why? Because the favorite student will always start buttering him. He will take him to a dinner. He will take him to outsides. He will get him new mobile. So in Pakistan, this all happens, and due to these reasons, in the
With the
foreign,
racist.
our yes, in the foreign, our degrees are not recognized very well. Even if a gold medalist goes to a very good university, he will be examined like a PhD. If he is applying for a master degree, he will be examined like a PhD candidate. Why? Because of all these such things which are going in the Pakistan. So this is the reason, that's why they are preferring the foreign degree holders, because they are focused on their research work, and they are focused on their studies. They gain the real knowledge and they apply it in the field, whether it is the academic field or even if it is the corporate field.
So it means not taking advantage of somebody's any personal favors or etc. Just work on the focus
But
on
still
your
they will
work.
put
And then you will
hurdles.
get it.
But,
Yeah.
but still they will
So
put
Dr.
hurdles in
Shahab, yeah.
Pakistan.
No, it's fine. Yes, Dr. Shahab, what's your take on that?
I think, look, in the world we have different ranking of universities, right? So
Yes.
if we go, so that very much establish where does the university stands, right? So, for example, we done from Malaysia, right? So some of the Malaysian universities are, top five, I think, fall under 200 in the world ranking, right? So
True.
now universities are ranked on some criteria, obviously, right? And we can see where our universities are placed as far as the ranking is concerned. So this is very clear that our universities are not ranked very well in the criteria whichever is prevailing in the world at the moment, right? And some of the university, like in other countries, obviously they are ranked very good. So everyone like to get a degree from a renowned or very good university to start with, right? Secondly, the system in other countries are very advanced. The universities have over the years evolved and reached at that stage where their system procedures are very much aligned, and you can do your work on time. And even the system push you for your degree, right? If you
Yes.
at times are not motivated, the system and processes in other countries, they push you that you have to do it, right? Otherwise you will be dropped, right? So the
True.
system constantly pushes you towards your degree, right? As far as Pakistan is concerned, I think the system and procedures are pretty lengthy here. And a lot of time is being wasted in so many things, like we have six subjects, then we have a comprehensive exam. So
Yes.
for the first 2 years you won't think of anything about research. You will be busy in your coursework, assignments, something like that. But in like we were in Malaysia, they always talk about research. The
True.
coursework is not something important, because you have done masters, you have done MS, you have done a lot of coursework already. I think the focus should be on research. So our university's focus is not on research. It's a research degree, and the focus is on coursework, at least for the first 2 years,
Yes.
right? So you have spent 2 years, but still you haven't started your research, right?
True.
So in 2 years you can, I mean, in three years, if you're a good student, you can finish your PhD in your 3 years. So 70% of the time you have spent in Pakistan, like in a university, and still you are thinking about doing research, what you will do, who will be your supervisor, you're not sure about. So that's the problem with the system. So we have, in advanced country, you have obviously a very systems, and which obviously push you to do your work quickly, so you can do in quick time if you're doing abroad, right? So
Yes.
if if you don't get a chance to do abroad, that does not mean you cannot be a good researcher if you're doing from
True.
Pakistan, right? We see a
Mm-hmm.
lot of people who have done degrees from Pakistan, and they are excellent research,
Wonderful.
right?
True.
So if you end up doing from Pakistan, that does not mean you cannot be a good researcher, right?
Yes.
Still, you can be as good researcher as anybody else, right?
Yeah.
So if you're doing from Pakistan, then you
Yeah.
should do hard work, and you have developed your skills, and nowadays knowledge is just one click away, right? So if you have appetite of learning, if you have motivation of learning, I mean, people in from Pakistan, they are doing excellent research as well.
Yes.
So that is not an excuse that my degree is from Pakistan, so I'm not good. You can be as good as anybody else, right?
Yeah.
It's
Very
just
well
up to
said.
you. But if
Yeah.
you can get a chance to go abroad, I think you should go. But
Yes.
if you end up doing in Pakistan, then you should bring in a lot of skills and quality. Still,
Yeah.
you will be a recognized researcher even if you do in Pakistan, like so many other people are doing, and they are
Yes.
good as well. So that's how it
Very
is.
nice. Very nice. And Dr. Shah, we can conclude in one sentence in the way that it depends on you, that how do you establish yourself as a researcher? Because in Pakistan, as you explained, that it's the a process which will make some delays, but at the end of the day, what quality work you are doing, the world will see it, and it will get published in the very reputed journals. And I know the people from Pakistan who did a PhD. They are a wonderful researcher, and they are recognized by the very prestige universities as a good researcher. So yeah, very well explained. Yes, Dr.
Yeah.
Anis, quick response of you on that, and then we take to another question.
Okay, the quick response, because I am the last one, so last one will always get the least. So for a quick for a quick
because
response, is I
because Dr.
yeah,
Anis, we have a lot of question in queue
don't
for
worry,
you. That's why we have to
don't
take
worry,
quick response from you.
don't yeah. Let me discuss the issue that I
Yes.
always raise this issue in my DRCs and FRCs and discuss with my management as well.
Yes.
That the students that enrolled in PhD are not the students in
Mm.
Pakistan. I'm talking about Pakistan. Like if you talk about the Bahria and we have the students, they are doing the jobs. They are not
Yes.
full-time students. They don't sit in the labs. They don't. They are not interested in the comprehensives. They don't give their 100%. They don't meet with their supervisor. Uh, so this is the big reasons. Like Pakistani university produce people like Dr. Arshad Hassan. Pakistani university produced people like Dr. Ataullah Shah in sciences, Dr. Arif Hatak, Dr. Sattar, in Dr. Ahmad Faraz, Dr. Shahid Jan, Dr. Raza, Dr. Razaul Mustafa, and so many other doctors who are doing miracles in Pakistan and outside Pakistan who did graduated from Pakistani university, but they were dedicated students. So, irrespective of thinking about the international or national arena, uh, the most important thing is that you should be a full-time student. And the next most important thing that is already discussed by Dr. Bilawal and Dr. Shahab, that you should be a full-time researcher. Like you should have a quest of thirst for the research.
True.
Like right from the day start, you should know about the scopus, about the ISI, about the impact factor, about the PET journal, about the sustainability, about the environmental journal. You should know. Many of my PhD students don't know even impact factor. They even don't know about the ISI. They don't know about the scopus. So this is the interest that a student should take. Like a supervisor will not tell him. Like I am a foreign graduate seated in Bahria University. If I will
Mhm.
get a Pakistani student in Pakistani university, obviously the skill I have, I will put in my student. But the student should desire, he should demand, he should have a thirst, he should have a quest. And
Yeah.
very sorry, in Pakistan, mostly the PhD students are workers. They work for 8 hours. So when they work for 8 hours and you demand them something, then they excuse it. So supervisor lost his confidence, and when he lost his confidence, then obviously the concentration will not on him, and thus by a two-way process they lose the concentration. So at the end, there is 8 or 7 years he take for completing his PhD, and during his PhD he don't have even a single impact factor or X category paper. They just rush for Y category in order to complete their requirement for PhD, get the
Yes.
PhD, and just go on. This is the only thing that we have to work on it. We should take full-time student that should come on daily basis. They should work in the lab like we did in Malaysia, like you all did it in Malaysia. We were compelled and we were bound over there for our supervisor that even they can call us at night, even they can call us at day, even they can call us for the due 20 hours. It's up to them, but only the objective was to conduct the research, to pursue the PhD, and so on. So the system should be revived. The system should go from the worker class to the student class. Then I think so Pakistani university have the foreign graduates, and these foreign graduates will nurture these Pakistani students and they can do miracles. So in my opinion, like a foreign university, obviously the foreign universities are double ACSB university, they are the EBIT recognized university, they have a QS rankings. So no doubt when you will come over here, then you will be preferred on these bases irrespective of other bases. So a
Yes.
foreign graduate comes with research paper, while a local graduate don't have all these things. So this
Yeah.
is the short and concise discussion I did. Thank you so much.
Perfectly said, perfectly answered this question, Dr. Anis, and you sum up in a very wonderful way. As I can conclude from Dr. Bilawal, Dr. Anis, and Dr. Shahab talk, that when you go abroad, you are more exposed to the environment where you are forced actually towards to learn and to produce something, and you become a full-time researcher. But in Pakistan, what happens that you do a PhD along with your jobs and other responsibilities. So that's why there is some negligence towards the PhD. You cannot become the proper researcher, which it needs a lot of attention, energy, and time. So that's why in Pakistan, most of the time the researcher are not good because they are not full-time researcher, a full-time student. So we need a full-time student, as Dr. Anis, Dr. Bilal, and Dr. Shab explained. I myself was over there in the lab 24/7, and we dedicated 3 years for that PhD, and that's why we learned that skills and things. So wonderful explain. Okay, Dr. Anis, I'm starting from you. I will tell you the 2 questions, and both are correlate. And then I take the opinion of Dr. Shahab and Dr. Bilawal on the same 2 questions. Okay, Maya Ali wants to ask the question that PhD is the only use in academics job, not in industrial jobs. And everyone cannot become a professor too. It's luck sometimes. How can we motivate ourselves then? That is the first question. That they believe that the PhD is only for academician job. It's not for industrial job, and everyone cannot become a professor. And there is one another question. Let me just scroll it towards it. Uh, it's the Zahiruddin, who's the MPhil student, asking the same question but in a different way. That if a person feels that he has no advantage of getting a PhD degree in his job career, but still he wants to do PhD, then how to get motivated? Both are related to motivation. That's why I put it in the one way. So the first question, please, Dr. Anis, is do we
O-
call the PhD only for academia? It's not for
okay,
the
this is
yes.
okay. Maya, it's very nice question, but the fact remains that I will differ it because you can have the jobs of PhD in United Nations of Pakistan. You can have the job of PhD in WHO in Pakistan or abroad as well. You can have the job in UNHCR. You can have the job in other multinational firms, even in World Bank, even in Asian Development Bank. Uh, you can all have, like, if you currently uh, Google the jobs in UNHCR or UN, there is some jobs that is about the research associates. Okay, and they wrote in their requirement that minimum qualification is masters. Okay, so masters is the minimum qualification, and if you will go with a qualification of PhD, so that is only a minimum qualification, then obviously you will be preferred and you will be shortlisted over the most of my like 2 or 3 of my friends, they are earning like double salary than mine. If you are talking about the salaries, and they did PhD, what they do, like I can give you an example. Like these UN, WHO, Save the Children's, without research they even cannot get a single step, they even cannot take a single step. Like if you don't have the experience, then I have the experience in the far areas, like in the agencies, are all those areas which is very far from Islamabad, Lahore, Peshawar. What they do, they hire people for the research, they give them questionnaires, they pay them 2000 or 3000 for one day. They collect the data, then they bring the data and they give and hand it over this data to the concerned, that then the concerned run the same techniques that is run in a PhD. Like, who are doing all these things? Those people who don't have this qualification. And another very important thing, like I just discussed with luckily discussed with Dr. Shahab as well, that one of my friend who is in Geneva, he told me that even up till now in Pakistan, there is no artificial intelligence assessment in financial technology which can assess the funds for future of UN. Like whenever you will consume the fund, and if you are a good researcher, if you had a PhD in artificial intelligence or in financial technology, then you can assess the utilization of the research for the coming 50 years. And you would not believe that Pakistani United Nations office don't have this opportunity. They just take or they just hire people from outside who conduct this type of research for them, that how the funds can be assessed uh, are utilized in future. So like don't like the limitation of PhD is not in the academia. Like recently, I applied for a job that is the that is in Federal Public Service Commission. Like I'm giving you the example, and the requirement of the job was master degree with an 8-year experience in teaching, and the grade of the job was 19 grade. Okay, so that was a master degree with an 8-year experience, and maximum age was 40 years. So I was eligible over there and I applied over there. No, I'm 100% hopeful that if they will shortlist me and they will see my PhD document, then for sure they will have some extra marks for me. And that is why I can say that PhD is not the only thing on which you can do. Like another very important issue that I always discuss with you guys as well, that there is no specified trainer in Islamabad. Like there is no specified trainer who give training about the EVUs, about the SPSS, about the stata. Like you people, like Dr. Shahab, me, somewhere Dr. Mamtaz, somewhere Dr. Zahid, they are doing individual efforts, free of cost efforts. But if you are a PhD and you think a career, then you can be a good trainer as well. Trainer of the softwares, trainer of the how to face the audience, trainer of how to develop the frameworks. All these things are in one or other way or the product of the PhD if you will get the PhD. And if you have the tag of doctor, then your words will be different than if you don't have a tag of the doctor. This is the thing that you can be praised, you can be respected being a PhD doctor in any field where you are doing the job. And what was the second question?
The second question was of Zahuruddin, who said that if you don't require the PhD degree for your career growth, then how to motivate yourself?
Yes. Very, and this is the thing. There is a word that is called generation gap.
Mm.
Like in every family, there is a generation gap. Like people desire, what if I do a PhD? So the only thing, if you don't need the PhD for your career, then the most important thing, you have to fulfill this generation gap if you can do it. Because if today you are not interested, tomorrow your next generation, your future generation can get inspired from you. You can guide him, you can give him the tips, you can give tips to the community, you can give tips to the society, you can give tips to the circle, close circle to you. And even after PhD, your mentality can be changed, you can work differently than what you was. So it's not about limiting yourself that I don't want to grow my career on it. Don't grow your career, but help the community, help the society. After PhD, I'm not going to praise myself. I'm going to praise Dr. Shahab. I'm going to praise Dr. Bilawal. I'm going to praise you, not myself. After PhD, literally, you will feel a different change. This is
True.
something like we did. And people says that after PhD, there will be some shock to your mind, and you cannot get rid from this shock. So this is the
Yeah.
shock that you should always be in a complementary style. You should always be helping. You should always be ready for help. If anyone come to you, you should be in this one. So PhD is something that will make you an overall refresh and refurbish and re-engineer. That is very much good for the community and for the society as well.
Yeah, wonderful. Very well explained, Dr. Anis. Okay, Dr. Bilal, a quick response on that, please. Yes, Dr. Bilal, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you. Yes, for the first question that PhD is not a requirement or is not needed in the corporate sector. For your information, I am from oil and gas companies. In OGDCL, you may have heard of Oil and Gas Development Company Limited of Pakistan, and Pakistan Oilfield Limited is the another company. If you want to get promotion, you want to be promoted to the next level, first you need to have master's degree program, and you will be stuck to current position if you do not go further for a PhD level, because in PhD you will have more knowledge than at the place you are currently. For for promotion from master's level, that is 19 scale. If you want to become a general manager in those companies, that is Pakistan Oilfield and OGDCL, if you want to become a general manager, you must hold a PhD degree either from Pakistan or from the foreign. So PhD is not limited to academia only. And another thing, I would like to share the experience of Malaysia. We had professor there, Professor Dr. Raja Russia. He was not only an academic uh, professor in university, but he was also writing international policies for Malaysia. So he was not only limited to university level, that is professor rank. He was also a good researcher. Because of his research experience and a lot of impact factor research papers, he was called by the Malaysian embassies and Malaysian policies writer to write international policies for them. He was such a great person, he still is. So like PhD is not only limited to academia only. So what was the next question?
That how to get motivate yourself when it will be no use in your career growth, the PhD.
So, PhD will give you a lot of new knowledge, not limited to your research area, but also to your nearby community. Because when you are indulged in research, you try to find out solutions for various problems you face. That problems are not only limited to the research, but also balancing the life with the family members, having balance with the friends, going out with the friends. So you also learn how to manage time and giving the time to the family members, to the colleagues, to the friends. So you learn a lot of things from the PhD. And one thing more, it is not necessary if you get a PhD and it is not related to your current job. You never know when you are going to quit your current job or when you are going to be fired from the current job. So anything can happen in your life. If you are fired from this position and you have a PhD degree, you can apply to a lot of more opportunities in the community or in your country or foreign even, because you are well qualified. And one thing more, when you apply for a job, mostly they say that master degree is the minimum requirement and PhD will be preferred. So another statement when you read is, if you are having a master degree, you are required to have 4 years of experience. But if you are going to have a PhD holder, 2 years of experience you are required to have. Why 2 years? Why they are giving you a discount in the experience? Because they know that you have a lot of more information, a lot of more knowledge than the one who is holding a PhD degree. Sorry, master's degree.
Yes. Very well explained, perfectly answered, Dr. Bilal. Dr. Shahab, I would take your response on that, but quickly, because there is one interesting question only waiting
Quickly.
for you, because the Islamic uh, banking background you have. So there is one MPhil student that he wants to ask about the Islamic banking and finance related question. So first, please
He gave
have a
you
look on this question.
something in advance. He gave you something in advance to finish reply soon.
But I'm not gonna. But still, I'll take my time. Yeah. So I'm
Yeah,
not gonna
sure,
miss
sure,
something.
please. Sure, sure.
Okay, we have two
Stage is
questions,
yours.
right?
You will be
Okay.
paid accordingly.
Ji.
Okay, there are
Sure.
two questions, right? Regarding the first question, where the person about the utility of PhDs, right?
Yes.
The best utilization of a PhD is for industry and for society, right? If a PhD is not contributing to the society, right, then I mean, half the job is done. Like if you're teaching somewhere, that's fair enough. But as a PhD, I think you need to contribute. Your research should contribute to the society, right? If you're not making a contribution to the society, that means you are not utilizing your potential. Unfortunately, in Pakistan, like we working in universities, but there is no strong collaboration between university and academia and industry, right? So here we normally are just doing work in academia, right? So we are not contributing to the society in a sense. But abroad, like in Malaysia, every PhD doctor was working for industry. So they had different projects. They are going to university, I mean, in different industries. They are contributing to their society by giving different policy documents, etc. But unfortunately, in Pakistan, the PhDs are not underutilized, right? Their potential is not being utilized by industry. Somehow there's no collaboration between universities and industry. That's why we don't see a lot of PhDs working. But still, like in policy making, every organization, like you have a central bank, there are a lot of PhDs working in central bank. There are a lot of PhDs in working planning commission. There are a lot of PhD working in SCCP, right? All the organization where policy making is being done, you will find a lot of PhDs over there, right? But yes, as far as the universities are concerned, those who teach in universities, they are I mean rarely contributing in industry and policy making, etc. But I think that's why I say we are underutilized, right? We don't find any avenues where we can interact with the industry or society or something like that. So that's the first question. Secondly, about motivation. Look, if you're spending your 3 or 4 years of your life, there must be some motivation, right? Otherwise, you could have spent that time with your family, friends. There are a lot of other things to do in your life. Why you want to spend your 3 or 4 years for a degree, right? If you don't have any motivation, so there must be some motivation to do such a tough job, right? So maybe it's like the one said you can have a mid-career choice, right? You can switch a career. Like I have worked 7 or 8 years in a banking sector, right? So when I was doing a banking job, I was always thinking like how I can do this work for till my retirement. Like if I'm coming at 8 in the morning and I'm going around 8 in the evening to my home, there's no social life, no holidays, stuff like that. So I'm always thinking how I gonna go spend my whole life like this. I came in this world, and you have worked in a bank for 60 years, and then ultimately you will die as well. So where's the recreation and
You're
stuff
a,
like
you're a
that?
lucky escape.
You are
so i
lucky enough
was
to be in
so
education
i was
industry.
so I was thinking that I mean this is not something that we are here in this world for, like
Yeah.
just doing work, going home,
Don't tell
sleeping,
them.
and coming
Don't
in.
tell them that in academia there is a lot of fun. Don't tell them.
You might be in
so
trouble as well, Dr. Anis.
so eventually it took almost 10 years to me, After that, I was able to quit from that job. So it can give you a parallel option. You can switch your job at some point if you want to. So there must be a motivation to to spend your 4 or 5 years of your life, Otherwise, there's no point of doing something if there's not any objective or motivation to do something. If you're not
Yes.
motivated, you will fail as well, If you're
True.
not
Very true.
motivated, how you can take the stress then?
Yeah,
Yes.
You will
and
waste
and
you will waste
Yes.
your
and
time, you will waste
if
your
you
money.
if until
Yes.
you will be in bank, your only contribution will be to provide the fresh cash to your community on Eads.
Even that is we are unable to provide that. Everyone is unhappy from us, you haven't provided me the fresh cash and stuff like that. So that's
Okay.
was on a lighter note, but still you need to have a motivation to do
Great
a
answer.
PhD,
Great.
right?
You
Very right.
explained it very
Wonderfully
nicely.
explained.
Explained it very
Yeah, very
nicely.
nicely explained. Okay, since Dr. Anis, you and Dr. Shahab, both of you are from finance area. Uh, Dr. Shahab, I would take your stance on that first. That Noman Abbas of MPhil student wants to ask the question that, sir, I am interested in Islamic finance. When I discussed it with one of my teacher, he said it would be limited to just Islamic world. So go ahead with other finance area. Please suggest.
No, I rather disagree with the teacher whoever said like this. If you see World Bank, if you see IMF, you can find a lot of policy paper of those conventional institutions on Islamic finance. Conventional finance, every time after few years we see crisis, debt crisis and global crisis and stuff like that. So the debt based system eventually, bring a collapse in economy. Maybe after 10 years, after 15 years, even then we keep on seeing. So a lot of research is going on that the Islamic system, and there are a lot of studies exist that proves that Islamic financial system is more stable than the conventional, because the Islamic system is based on equity, right? Which is very close to the real economy, right? Right. The debt-based system is far away from the real economy. That's where the system collapsed. So I'm not agree with whoever said that the scope is limited. No, the scope is not limited. Islamic finance industry is, I mean, spreading across the globe. You name any country in the world where the Islamic systems are not like Sukuk and Islamic Fund, Islamic capital markets, Dow Jones Islamic Index, where it is in America, FTSE, MSCI Islamic Index. There are a lot of indexes exist which are in USA, UK. So it's not limited to. It's very interesting. A lot of you will find a lot of Western people working in Islamic finance. Why they work? What is their motivation? Right? Because the conventional system fails even now and then. So world is looking for a parallel system, right? That's why a lot of people study IMF, World Bank. They keep on studying the Islamic system. So the scope is very wide. The scope is not limited, right? It's the quality of your work, right? What you come up with, how the world can benefit from your work. That's the
Yes.
question, right? The scope is far wide, so there's no limited. So whoever want to do um, is encouraged to do the work in Islamic finance, because
Yes.
like it's spreading wars in the world. Like in Malaysia, we have 25-30% share of Islamic uh, finance in overall financial industry, right? So in countries, the Islamic system is spreading. So I don't agree that the scope is limited. So people are encouraged to work if they are interested to work in Islamic finance. Yes, why not? Just should go ahead and should work.
Okay. Very nicely said. Dr. Anis, would you like to add something to it, or should I ask the another question from you? Dr. Anis, we cannot hear you.
Yeah, yeah, sorry. I would say this is fabulous explanation by Dr. Shahab, and I second
Wonderful.
you. Thank you
Oh,
so much
wonderful.
for that.
Thank you. Okay, Dr. Anis, we have a question for you that one student wants to ask that what does future hold for upcoming PhDs? Concern about future.
Okay, no doubt, from time to time, like we also learned that PhD, some people say that a PhD in finance is good. Someone says PhD in human resource. I'm talking about the social sciences or the management sciences. Okay, so currently, if you are thinking about your PhD, so this is my personal view, and this is the market trend as well. That like in finance, if we are going for PhD in finance, then obviously select the fintech, financial technology. Currently, LUMS and IBA, they have established their financial technology departments. Fintech is the combination of artificial intelligence, big data, Python, and finance. And if you will seek today, UMT, University of Management and Technology, they have advertised their jobs, and most of their jobs are in financial technology, artificial intelligence, and so on. Like this is the first more advantage that I will suggest for everyone who is stepping towards the PhD, and who belongs to finance, and he should go for the fintech, for the financial technology. Then obviously this is a niche market, like we studied in marketing, that there is a niche market, and currently it's a niche market in Pakistan as well. That This is the first more advantage you have to do. So rest in all other PhD scope, your impact factor will matter now, because the time when you had a Y category papers, when you have a X category paper, when you had a scopus, like that is no more with us. What your plan should be, that your CV should speak in impact factor. All those, we don't have so much impact factor, I should not say like that, but we are moving towards this dilemma. And a student who is a fresh, who is who has the data, who is in the mid of the PhD, who can plan for the he can plan for the impact factor. Because in future, most of the university will shortlist your CV if you will have the impact factor paper. So now I will say that the world is not waiting for your PhD degree that is in your hand, but they will also search your CV, and they will dig out whether you have impact factor publication in your hand or not. Then they will shortlist you for the future, because the future of PhD, as far as I am concerned, people are now, they are very much vigilant, they are very much hardworking, they are bringing the impact factors. The research culture is very much in Pakistan even now, and students are curious, have the thirst in their minds that how I will go for the impact factor. So if you want to compete in future, you have, like, you are studying the marketing and you studying the market segmentation. So before moving to PhD topic, you have to segment yourself where you want to lie, and then the important market should be targeted by you. Like what I am talking, as I did PhD in finance, that is why I'm talking about the revenue generation plans. So for revenue generation plans, your PhD should be market intensive. That should be before 5 years, if I'm not wrong. I'm very sorry to Dr. Shahab. I curse myself that why I did not get PhD in Islamic finance, because the Islamic finance was too much on the boom, like everywhere. Like people told me, "Do you have degree in Islamic finance?" Then I no, I don't have the degree. So I have the job, but that is only for the Islamic finance. Like then what is the reasons that for a PhD, getting PhD, you should target the market, you should target the topic, you should target the environment, you should target the world. Because the only difference is that nowadays what the people says, that uh, for the last decades, people including us who did their PhDs, they are considered now the old style PhDs. Like what they did, that they get the data, and they run the regressions, they run the they did the estimations. Like regression is an estimation. And nowadays what people are doing, they do the predictions. Like artificial intelligence in Python, they do predictions. They predict the future. Like for a risk management, they predict the future. Like for a macroeconomic variable, they predict the future. The art of estimations, like regression is an estimator on the real data, is a bit old now. That is why every person who is either in finance, in marketing, in HR, in Islamic finance, they should give a bit touch of artificial intelligence, of the big data, of the Python to himself, in order to make his degree more worthy. And about the Bitcoin, about the digitalization, about the different other thing, the world is already in a move. So you have to move with the time, and then you can capture the time, and then you can rule the world as well. So this is a thing you should think about the future. You should think about the topic. You should think about the niche market, and you should think about the degree that will contribute to the society, to the community, as well as will be a revenue generation plan for you as well. Thank you so much.
Yes, very nicely said, Dr. Anis. And what we are telling to the world, that actually not only doing PhD for yourself, but also contribute to the world, because we are here for contribution as well. When you are discovering knowledge, why don't you give the advantage to the humanity in that perspective? Okay, there is one question for Dr. Bilal, that the student wants to ask the question that even though the all steps in PhD are very difficult, what is the most difficult stage in PhD where we should place more importance on the stage? Which stage is the most complicated one?
Well, all stages at their level are very difficult in the PhD. But the most difficult stage for a beginner is the selecting a topic. First selecting a topic, then selecting the research area, whether it is whole country, the region, the province or city, or if a small area. For example, in geology, we have some area like we can say Islamabad. So it depends on the area. So the first one is the selecting a research topic and the area. After that, as I am supervising various masters and PhD students, so they always used to ask me in their proposal, before their proposal defense, they say that how to write a problem statement, because problem statement is the one that justifies your research, that which gap you are going to fill, which is the what is the problem in the area, what you will be going to do. So the problem statement, and after that, in most of the academics for PhDs disciplines in the academics, getting the research data from the companies is the most difficult task, not only in Pakistan but in foreign as well. One of my colleague in University of Malaya, he did his PhD from University of Malaya in 7 years, and I did it in 3.5 years. Why he took so long? Because in 3 years the oil company was not ready to give him the data. Even the data was available in public domain. So that is the another difficult task to get the data, because you need reference in the oil companies or even in all of the companies to get the initial data for your research work to be conducted. In my opinion, in my personal opinion, the two difficult stages in PhD is, first one is the to publish your first research paper, because for your first research paper you need to have your first or second objectives to be completed, so that you can publish it in an impact factor journal, because that is the output of your research and you need to have it published. Even it is a requirement by the university, so you have to publish research paper. That is the first one, difficulty in my opinion. And the second one is representing your 80% of work, that is in candidature defense, because for that you need to have every single even every information of the single dot you put in your thesis about your area, how you did it, when you did it, why you did so this thing, from where did you get this point, because there will be flood of questions in your candidature defense. There will be a lot of examiners. In my candidature defense in PhD, three examiners were assigned, but for my candidature defense, seven examiners came, which were unexpected for me. So you have to be ready for all of the questions, because candidate defense is the one that decides whether they are going to accept your work or not, because this is the stage where you are representing your 80% of your research output in the presentation. So these are the two stages that are difficult in my opinion in PhD.
Okay, very nicely said, Dr. Shahab. Okay, we will take the last two questions and then we will try to wrap up the session. Dr. Shahab, we have one question for you. They say, what is the role of conferences in doing PhD? What is your opinion whether one should present his or her work at conferences?
Well, it's very good. Firstly, you get the exposure. You meet a lot of people. A lot of researchers. Maybe you find someone who has done a lot of work in your area as well, right? If you're going in a relevant conference to your area, you'll find of experienced researcher. You can share your idea. You can present your idea. A lot of conferences have a separate session for the PhD students as well, like bring their work, present their work, and the experienced researcher can have a critical view on your work, then can give you a first hand advice that how should you move in future regarding your research. So I think it's very good for your exposure. You can get a lot of confidence by participating in these conferences. Also, you can get a lot of feedback on your work. If you're halfway through in your PhD, I think it's ideal for you to go to these forum and present your work, and get the critical ideas from the experienced researchers, so that you can later on your job will be easier when you will be defending your work. Because if an experienced individual have uh, uh, gone through your work, and you have accommodated their suggestions and recommendations, I think you'll be very confident you'll be defending your thesis. So it's good for exposure, good for experience. You can learn a lot from other people. You can be more, get more confidence. So I mean, it pays off, if you go to these conferences. So the
Yeah,
students are encouraged to go and participate in these conferences.
yeah, perfectly said. Okay, there is another question for Dr. Anis. Dr. Anis, since you are conducting different workshops and seminars and webinars, so the question belongs to you that what is your opinion whether one should attend workshops and seminar? Is it not too expensive and it's time taking? Whether do you think it is useful for the PhD students? Sir, your mic is off.
Mike.
Okay, okay. Uh,
Yes,
one
please.
should, one should attempt. So who's that one? Either student or a general public. If he's a student, he
Yes.
should. He
Mm,
should. Because the only part of your research that looks very much ambiguous is the methodology. Like Dr. Shahab is my teacher in structure equation model. Before getting practice from Dr. Shahab, I was zero in structure equation model. But after getting his lecture, I learned structure equation model, and even I use that model in my paper. So to cut it short, like how you will know about the beta value, how you will know about the p value, how you will know about the significance, how you will know about the theoretical relationship that should be justified based on the methodological applications. All these beta, all these descriptions, all these p value, all these r squares, all these concepts that is directly linked with the methodology section, that is one of the biggest chapter and one of the toughest chapter that student ever face in their research, that they are very much you can say in worries for their analysis. However, the only benefit of these trainings is that every instructor, either me or anyone else who brings the dummy data that is most relevant to the person who is attending the webinar, seminar, or the training, and he run that data, and after running that dummy data, all the concepts that is required in a PhD, for a PhD, to prove your work is in that workshop or in that training. So obviously very important, and people are lucky who got these workshop, who got these training. It is not time consuming. Only in 3 hours, if you have a good concepts, you can become the beginner. So beginning is ending as well. So very much
Yeah.
important, this training as well. And
Well
another
said,
thing,
Doctor.
sorry,
Yes,
sir.
please. Carry on,
Another
carry on,
thing,
please.
that YouTube is full of training, but you should follow all those people who give you training in a layman approach. In a layman approach, who layman approach is that you can easily learn and you can easily understand. That then you will not be bored and you will feel it as a fun. So according to a researcher, playing with the data is a fun. So
Yes.
how you will play with the data? Obviously through these softwares, through this training, and then just learn it and play with it. Thank you so much.
Yeah, well said, Dr. Anis. And if you see, all of us, since are foreign qualified, most of the time we used to go to the different workshops and seminars, and we learn a lot from there. As you have given your example that you learned the SCM from Dr. Shahab, the same thing we learned the SCM MOS from the workshops. We attended different workshops, and they are very useful, particularly for the PhD students, and particularly the analysis part. It's very worthy to attend. And the question which they say it's too expensive, it's not expensive. As Dr. Shah said, it pays off. It will be paid accordingly, but you need to invest in yourself first. Okay, I start with the Dr. Anis. That comes to the end of this session. What is your message to the world as a researcher?
Uh, Concentration only. Link,
Wonderful.
link with literature. You have to link yourself with literature. Literature is the only solution of your problems. If you are a student of PhD or MS.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful. And you know, Dr. Anis, what I used to say in different classes, that that is my own personal opinion, that research starts with the literature review and it ends with the literature review. So we
Yeah.
have to see everything in literature. What a wonderful word you have explained and given to the world. Yes, Dr. Shahab, what is your message as a researcher to the young researchers and beginners?
Yeah, my message is if you have do what you are passionate about. If you have a passion for research, do it, you will excel, right? If you have passion for something else, do something else. Don't do research, right? So
Yes,
look into yourself, find out what you are good at, right?
yeah,
And see what you are passionate about, because passion drives the world, right? If you do
yes.
what you are passionate about, you will access and you will, drive the world. Otherwise, if you do other way around, if you do something which you don't have passion to do, you will not excel and you will not enjoy. That's my message.
Wonderful. And that reminds me one Hollywood movie dialogue. It's a very famous dialogue. You can any one of viewers can search it on YouTube. That I would not name the movie, but I would just say the dialogue. It's the if you are good at anything, never do it for free.
कोई
So
काम कोई
that's
धंधा छोटा बड़ा नहीं होता, शाहरुख खान सेठ, कोई बंदा छोटा बड़ा
yes.
छोटा नहीं.
Yeah, that's the thing. So very wonderful. Dr. Anis said the literature, you said the passionate, what you are good at. And then finally, Dr. Bilal, what's your message to the world as a researcher?
Yes, focus on your research area and don't get disappointed if you are facing too many challenges. So face it, because every challenge you face will give you a new experience and it will give you a new idea of how to solve various problems, challenges you face. Even for months, you will have no progress, but a smart spark will get you on top. Stay positive and don't worry, stay focused. May God bless you.
So thank you very much, all of the speakers. We are getting wonderful response of this webinar. The last response is from the Noman Abbas, that very exceptional webinar, sir. Yes, indeed, the one worthy, renowned speakers, the experts, you have given a wonderful suggestion and recommendation, and you people shared your experiences. This is what the beauty of that, you take the advantage of somebody else's experience and you learn from it. What the Dr. Shahab has given his own example, that he came from the banking industry and then joined the academia as a researcher, the Dr. Anis by himself, the Dr. Bilal, all these things. This the purpose of this webinar was to educate the people on that, how can they improve themselves and how can they cope with the different challenges which they face all of the world. So thank you once again, all the respected guest speakers. It was lovely session again with you people, and inshallah in future we will be inviting you again, and that would be honor again to have you on the platform. Thank you for sparing your precious time and giving the opportunity to our viewers to listen to your worthy words and your suggestion. That comes to the end of this session. Thank you, viewers, for watching this. Stay tuned. Inshallah, we will be coming up with more videos in future too. Thank you. Stay blessed. Bye bye.